Alright, so here's the follow-up to that first video of completing an upper and setting up a MWS out of the box. Today I'll be getting into the trigger box of the lower and putting in just this cool aftermarket trigger. Alright, so yeah, we'll get into it. So what you're going to want to do is take the buffer completely off here. So that's where we want to start. Let's go ahead and crank that over. So we're going to take this completely out, and you'll see in a minute, but what we need to do is basically shimmy the trigger box out of the lower. So just get all these pieces loose. Be careful that detent spring. Take that off, and you may want to try to get that detent out. Otherwise, if you're careful, you can leave it in. We'll just put that stuff off to the side. So next up is the safety. So we will need to cock it. We turn it to between safe and semi at that 45 degrees. And then just start pushing, and it may take a couple of twists here and there we go. So put it into the safe semi right between those two, push with your thumb on one side, and then twist back between semi and auto, and it should come out. Reinstallation is going to be a little bit trickier because there are some detents that are in the way, but we'll deal with that later. Next up is our trigger pin here. So get the punch set and our mallet, and it's only this trigger pin here. These are actually fake pins and they're caps on the inside. So just give it one little tap, gets going just like any other trigger pin, and there it goes, falls right out. Next up is going to be your magazine catch. It does help to use a tool for this to push on one side and then spin it on the other. And so you just keep spinning until it pops out. And then just be careful the actual magazine button, there we go. That comes out. All right, so we're almost there. We need to get out the screw in the bottom of that trigger box because it is quite narrow in there, so you want something thin and small that can get down in there. All right. That came out like a charm. Man, feels good when things just work sometimes. And as you notice, I mean, if I was trying to use something else, it would be a tight fit. All right. So we're here, and now we got to take this box out. So what I'm gonna do, and this is a little weird, but it needs to be done. So here we go. All right, so I'm gonna try to shim the front of the receiver up. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put a flathead in. I'm gonna grab this, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place my flathead into the spot where the striker hits the back of the magazine. I'm gonna take my other flathead and I'm gonna take this, and I'm actually gonna take out the I'm going to take out this buffer stop. So you just go in, push out this little plastic piece, and then your buffer stop comes out. Whole assembly here. Okay. Just want to get stuff out of the way. And what I'm going to do now is apply even pressure onto the trigger box to basically yank it out. Let's see here. I'm gonna grab some padding so we don't mark up the receiver. Starting back off, I'm going to place this paper towel here. I'm going to place a piece of metal there to act as a pivot point. I'm going to put my flathead into the opening for the hammer, and I'm going to grab my other flathead and place it on the back of the box. And then apply even pressure to both sides, and we got a little bit of movement. Okay, try moving that back a bit. And there we go, we just gotta shimmy it out, and there we go. Little by little, just little by little, don't rush it. Don't rush it. You can break some stuff doing this, so be very careful. All right. Okay, and we got the box out. That's one of the harder jobs to do on the MWS. And just gotta pull it out. Alrighty, there we go. Okay, so we have the box out, and there is a metric load of springs in this thing. So be very careful. But what we're interested in is on this side, and it is these screws on this side to go ahead and take this box apart. So if you're unfamiliar with doing this, I highly recommend watching multiple videos before getting into the trigger box. This is one of the more involved things to do with the MWS. So just be very, very careful. Try not to blow everything up. So just remove the screws, flip it over, and then we're going to take out the trigger. Remove the spring and side assembly. Remove the center piece here. That goes flying the disconnector. And then we'll take out our new trigger here. Slide the disconnector spring in there. Drop in the disconnector. And then drop in this little piece. There we go. Grab our spring. Place it back on here. Slide all that together. And you got your assembly, and then we'll just drop it right back in its little home. Just gotta press up a little bit, get it in place. Okie dokie. Upside down, there we go. All right. Back in one piece. Thank God nothing else sprung out. And there we go. All right. All right. All back together. And if you were going to replace the Z plate, you can do that here too. And that's replacing the Z plate is good for if you're going to install like a bad lever or something. All right. Now this is a little finicky. So place the spring back in there, and then I'm going to slide the bolt catch back over, and then place the Z plate on top of the bolt catch. And we should be good. All right. Quick function check before I put it back into the gun. There we go. So I want to make sure the disconnector and reset works. Okay, good, good. Yep. It's doing what it's supposed to do. All right, looks good. So reassembly, we got our trigger box, we got our new trigger. Go ahead, drop this in, and just try to push it in as best you can with your hands and just make sure it's going in straight too. It starts going in cockeyed. Get out the rubber mallet, and you're gonna wanna start to tap it in. Just tapping that back tab where that screw goes in. Try to get that back in there. If there's one thing that I hate, it is these MWS trigger boxes. They really, really do suck working on. Really, really suck. Okay, there we go. Function check. God, I hate these things. All right, there we go. Function check. There we go. Okay, it's acting up a bit. What's going on here? All right, I think it's not quite in yet, so I'm gonna tap it down a bit more. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the selector in. So we just, again, put in that 45° between safe and semi. We want to put the hammer down. Then I'm gonna go ahead and pull this little metal tab down here, push that forward. And again, same deal with the next piece here. It might require some rotation. You might have to try a bunch of different tools too to try to get this to work. And it can help to reinstall some of the parts. Try to make sure alignment is good. So popped it between semi and auto and was able to get that last click out of there. All right, we got the trigger in there, and it seems to be functioning properly. So all good to go there. So let's go ahead, put this all back together. So reassembly is opposite of takedown. Now that we have it in position, I can bust out a screwdriver. We'll get that home. I'm just gonna finish it off with this because it's a little bit smaller and I can get a better purchase on the Phillips head there. There we go. All right, nice and snug in there. Magazine catch in first, spring, catch, and you can actually just screw this in a bit until you hit the receiver, and then we'll transition off of that. Push that in, and we'll tighten this down until the magazine catch almost hits the receiver. Feels a little tight. Let's see here. The mags drop. The mags drop out okay. Yeah. I'm gonna back it off one turn. It's always tricky with this. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Boom. All right. So we'll put this buffer capture back in. Press down on the buffer. stopper. That goes in like that. Make sure the detent's still there. We'll drop this pin in. And make sure to align the channel to the rear. Then we'll drop the detent spring in. All right, we are in business. Grab our buffer tube, thread it on. And so what I'm looking for when I thread the buffer tube back on is that I am one turn. So right now we're flush with the receiver, with the buffer tube, and that can work. But I do one turn off of that. So I go flush, one turn off, and then put everything back together. And again, that's only if you're using green gas, because green gas does have a bit more recoil than what this was designed for, so you have to make a couple of minor changes to ensure that you're not going to damage anything. All right, just going to place it on the table here, give it one more crank. All right, nice and snug. Boom. One more function check. Right as rain. Pop open these tabs. All right. So far, so good. Bolt holds open. All right. And one more for good measure. Alrighty. There we have it. Out of the box. Fully modified. No, not quite fully modified, but it's ready to go back to its original owner, and hope he enjoys it. Sweet little looking gun. Can't wait to see what it's going to look like when it's finished. But until next time, catch you guys later. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope this was informational.